Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Monday morning, the day after Arsenal's very, very important 2-1 win at West Ham in the Premier League. It's a win that's moved them back into the top four with 4 games to go. It's a win that's guaranteed them European football next season. They can now finish no lower than 6th in the Premier League. So it is a very happy Monday morning for Arsenal fans around the world. I'm sure, yes, the performance wasn't the best, but at this stage of the season, frankly, who cares in the slightest? It's all about results, and Arsenal got exactly what they wanted at the London Stadium yesterday. Obviously, I did my video from the game, doing my player ratings, match details. Quite a few of you not happy with my player ratings in that. I think I was potentially a little bit too harsh and didn't take into consideration some of the sort of impressive bits of play. It's certainly in the second half, in the way Arsenal saw that game out. Maybe Rob Holding and Gabriel should have got a little bit more credit than I gave them in that game. So apologies to them. Not that I'm sure they lost any sleep over it. Wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about the game, how it panned out. Look at some of Mikel's comments in the press conference afterwards in today's video. I mean, on the game, like I said, it wasn't the best performance. Certainly in the first half, Arsenal really sort of struggled to find any sort of fluency. West Ham weren't great. Clearly had a bit of a knock-on effect from what they went through on Thursday night against Frankfurt in the semi-final of the Europa League, but Arsenal couldn't really take advantage. Very, very sloppy, certainly in possession, passing-wise, in that first half. Did get themselves in front through Rob Holding's header, his first Premier League goal in 6 years or ever. And you kind of felt at that point, all right, they've got themselves in front, they'll go on and comfortably win this now, but they got pegged back, poor defending right on the stroke of half time. And once that goal went in, I have to admit, I sat there during the interval thinking, you know, this could be a difficult second half now. West Ham are going to have their tails up, Arsenal are going to be disappointed. so that goal by Gabriel so soon after half time, I think it was 54 minutes, I think it was really, really important. It gave Arsenal that advantage again, kind of sucked the life out of West Ham a little bit. And in truth, I thought that period of the game after that, Arsenal dealt with it very, very well. I don't think Aaron Ramsdale even had a save to make. They protected their lead very well. Only slight negative is they didn't go on and extend their advantage, because they probably should have done. They had a few chances on the counter-attack. Eddie Nketiah was unlucky not to score with one effort, well saved by Fabianski. Probably should have scored another one, which he put just wide. There was a few other opportunities when they got themselves in good positions, Arsenal, but the final ball was lacking. They didn't quite take advantage of it. But having said that, at the other end, I thought they kept West Ham well under wraps. Rob Holding and Gabriel, like I said, did exactly what they needed to do. Every cross that came in, they got in the way of, they cleared. And, you know, Mohamed Elneny, whose renaissance continues, and Granit Xhaka, you know, did the job that was needed in front of them. They may not have been great on the ball. Certainly Xhaka, I thought, was a little bit off with his passing compared to what he's usually like. That's usually his bread and butter. But they still kind of gave that protective barrier in front of the defence and ensured that West Ham weren't able to put any real sort of pressure on Arsenal. Elneny, that pass for Eddie Nketiah as well, that set Eddie away for that chance, absolutely brilliant. Curled it into the space superbly. And it was a very good win. I mean, Mikel saying afterwards, said it was a massive win under very difficult circumstances, because we put ourselves in real problems, especially with our decision making and in ball possession, the spaces we were attacking, the timing of it and the efficiency of it. But the team showed huge character, not to give up, to continue trying to do the right things, the way they thought, the way they understand how they have to manage the game in certain moments, the way we defended. It was phenomenal. In England, you say win ugly, and I think from my point of view today, we won ugly. And I can't pick any holes in those comments. I thought it was absolutely spot on. Like I said, that, you know, and he said Arsenal saw the game out well, and they deserved a lot of credit for that in terms of what they were like in possession. You know, they were sloppy, there's no doubt. We all saw it. It wasn't a very good performance from that point of view, but they won ugly. And if Arsenal are going to go on and get themselves top 4 now, this is the kind of thing they've got to do at this stage of the season, because it doesn't always click, but you've got to somehow find a way of getting yourselves over the line. And to credit Arsenal this season, considering how young they are, how inexperienced they are, how none of them have really been in this position before, they do manage to get themselves over the line an awful lot of times, and they see games out very, very well, and they deserve an awful lot of credit for that. And I thought Rob Holding yesterday kind of summed that up perfectly, because it was his first, you know, he's come on, he's played a crucial role this season at times, Rob Holding, who, by the way, I think gets a lot of awfully unfair criticism. I think Rob Holding is a very, very good centre-back and a very, very good squad player. He could be a very good starting player, if he went somewhere else, I'm sure he can make a really successful career. I don't want Arsenal to even consider selling Rob Holding in the summer, though. I think he's got a really important part to play. And so far this season, his main role has been coming on later on in games. Arsenal switching to the back three, him helping to see the games out. Yesterday it was from the start, and I thought he did very, very well, not just scoring the goal, but in the second half when West Ham were trying to get back into the game, he dealt with them really, really well. And I think Rob Holding is just playing really, really well at the moment. He's making really important impact when he does get called upon by Mikel Arteta. Such a hugely popular player in the squad as well, Rob Holding, and he deserves an awful lot of credit. And I thought he was excellent yesterday. I did give Nketiah my man of the match afterwards. I thought him and Tomiyasu and Holding were probably the best players on the pitch for Arsenal. Eddie, very unfortunate not to score, but he just gave Arsenal a lot, I thought, in that, especially in that second half, when the ability to stretch West Ham, to make those runs into the channel, something we don't really see when Lacazette's playing. And Eddie's having a very, very good end to the season. He was unlucky not to score yesterday, but I thought he played very well. And there was a lot of spotlight on Eddie after the game yesterday. A lot of the pundits were talking about him. The Sky Sports pundits were talking about him and his situation, his contract situation. And, he's putting himself in the shop window. Whether there can be a U-turn and he decides to stay at Arsenal, I'm sure Arsenal will be trying to get him to change his mind between now and the end of the season. I don't think they will, because he's rejected plenty of contracts in the last sort of 6 months to a year that Arsenal put in front of him. So I think him and his agent's mind seems to be pretty set on leaving, which does feel like a bit of a shame potentially given the way he's playing at the moment. But he's putting himself in the shop window, and if he is to leave, then fair play to him. But he's still clearly going to have a very important part to play over the next 4 games, because unless he gets injured, he is Arsenal's starting striker right now, and that is not going to change. Lacazette's not going to come back into the picture between now and the end of the season, barring any injury to Eddie Nketiah. There were some concerns yesterday, obviously, after the game, injury-wise. There was that moment in the second half when Tomiyasu went down. I think it was, 80 minutes or something like that. He just put himself down on the turf, and you could just hear the groans from the away end. I mean, they were sitting probably about, I don't know, at the London Stadium. It's a very big distance away from everyone. It's so vast there. But you could just hear the away end. It's like, oh, no, as soon as he went down, because he'd played really, really well. Tomiyasu, it was so good to see him back in the starting 11. Then to see him suddenly go down and holding the back of his leg, you thought, oh, no, what is going on here? Is that it? Is he out for the season? Mikel was asked about him and Bukayo Saka, who also limped off, and Ben White, who wasn't involved because of a hamstring issue at all. And this is what he had to say. He said, Ben got injured against Manchester United. He felt a muscular problem. We checked him, and we will have to assess him in the next few days to see how he is. Bukayo was fine. He was just really fatigued, and he'd been through a little injury as well. Tomiyasu he'd been out for so long, and he could not continue. We then asked him, are you worried about Tomiyasu's injury? And he said no. He said no, hopefully he's fine. After the game, Tomiyasu did walk through the mix zone, which is the area sort of between the changing room and the team coach, where the players walk through and journalists can stand and try and call them over to have a chat. More often than not, they ignore us and just walk straight on and get on the coach. But Tomiyasu did stop, not to the English media, but he stopped for the Japanese media who were there. He had a chat with them. He looked okay. So fingers crossed it was nothing really more than cramp for Tomiyasu, and he will be fine to feature next weekend against Leeds, because I thought it was great yesterday, Tomiyasu. Given he'd been out for so long, he just slotted back in like he'd never been away. He just won absolutely everything in the air. West Ham did not get a sniff down that side for the majority of the game. I thought he played really, really well, and if he can stay fit between now and the end of the season, Arsenal have got a lot more of a chance of getting the top 4 that they need than if he doesn't. And I really think that there's a strong possibility that Arsenal could even potentially line up as a back 3 in that really important game against Spurs in a couple of weeks, providing Tomiyasu is fit. And you could almost flip Tomiyasu on the right-hand side of that 3 if needs be. If not, you obviously can play Rob Holding there and Ben White. But if Ben White is injured, we're not sure yet. We'll have to wait and see. As Mikel says, that's going to be assessed over the next few days. But if he is, then I'd have no problem with Tomiyasu playing in that back 3 against Tottenham. And because I'm not sure, the way we saw yesterday, Nuno had another difficult afternoon. And I'm just not sure you can line up as back 4 against Tottenham with the threat that they possess down the flanks with Son and Kuvalevski, and how well they play in transition. I'm just not sure Arsenal can line up with a back 4 again in that Tottenham game. I think it might be a little bit like lambs to the slaughter in that one, and they'll get picked off down the flanks. So I think Tomiyasu being fit would be huge for that Tottenham game, and touch wood, it looks like he will. Mikel's certainly not too concerned about that injury to Tomiyasu. Right, the celebration police were out in force again last night. Well, saying that, they weren't really out in force, but Chris Sutton, obviously ex-Blackburn, ex-Chelsea, whatever, Celtic, he's now got his show on BBC Radio. It's a call-in show, and straight after the game he tweeted Arsenal celebrate like they won the league, and it does my head in. Honestly, it does my head in. I don't understand this whole thing. A, for one, who cares? B, it was a lie. It just wasn't true. You know, if that's how Arsenal would celebrate winning the league, I'd be seriously annoyed, and they need to have a strong, big old look at themselves, because there was barely any celebration there. The full-time whistle went, they all had a bit of a hug, high five, they shook hands with the West Ham players, and they walked over to the away fans and just gave them a normal clap. I videoed the whole thing. I put it on my social media. There was no celebration, or barely any celebration. And for him to then, it's just getting odd. It's getting to the point now where it's getting odd, this sort of fixation on how Arsenal, what they're doing after the full-time whistle at the moment. It's like, I remember watching Newcastle the other day. They played Leicester, I think it was, and they won 1-0. Bruno Guimaraes scored that last-minute winner. The celebrations there, and this was for just a mid-table game, the celebrations there were absolutely crazy. No one said a word about that. And yet Arsenal going for the top four for the first time in 6 years with the youngest squad in the league. If they even do anything, like yesterday, applaud their away fans, they suddenly get lambasted from pundits or whatever you want to call them for celebrating like they won the league. It's just not true, and it's just getting really, really odd. It's almost to the point that they're trying to create content just for the sake of it, so they can then talk about it on their radio shows. And you know, if Chris Sutton wasn't on the wind up yesterday, then which he might well have been, he might well have just been fishing, and if he was, then fair play, because he got an awful lot of bites. But it was just really odd, I thought, and the whole celebration police, honestly, it just really winds me up. Football's about having fun. It's about celebrating wins. If you can't do that, then what's the point? It's just... Anyway, enough about that. And enough about yesterday's game. What a good win that was. Really, really important victory. Like I said, Arsenal back in Europe next season. So get those passports out the drawer. If they've been there, dust them off. And Arsenal will be going back on a tour of the continent next season. What competition? We don't yet know. Hopefully it's a Champions League, but we will wait and see. Okay, before I go, I just want to talk a little bit about William Saliba. He's been talking again about his future. He was speaking ahead of Marseille's game against Lyon last night in Ligue 1, and he said, he was asked about, I think it was at Marseille's last home game, so it was going to be his last game of the season in front of Marseille fans. He said, my wish is to finish the season well, to leave on a good note in case I don't come back. It would be my pleasure to come back no matter what. It's not as if I know if I'm going to come back, but it's Marseille, it's my club. And yeah, interesting comments. I think the Saliba situation is just really, really up in the air. I just can't say if he's going to play for Arsenal ever, if he's going to play next season. I just don't know. It's not been decided. We'll have to wait and see what happens in these talks that are going to be happening with him and his agent, Arsenal, and then when they go sort of a lot more official as the season comes to an end. He didn't cover himself in glory last night. I thought it was really, really poor for Dembele's goal, actually, which was Lyon's second, but, that's just what happens. I'm not going to criticise Saliba for some poor defending. Arsenal's defending yesterday for the West Ham goal was absolutely atrocious. Gabriel stood off his man. Nuno let the cross come in. It was awful. So it happens. And Saliba's had a fantastic season in France. It's great. He's got himself into the France team, and France squad. Potentially might well go to the World Cup with France, which would be a hell of an achievement for such a young centre back. Whether he makes it at Arsenal, whether he plays for Arsenal, we'll have to wait and see. He's been having an awful lot to say the last few weeks. He's making it very, very clear that he'd be more than happy to stay with Marseille. Obviously, his contract situation needs to be resolved one way or the other. And if he's not going to sign a new one, you would think Arsenal are probably going to have to sell him this summer, because otherwise you're going to take a big financial hit. And his value's just going to plummet if you don't sell him this summer, because he'll go down to his final year of his contract. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. But I think certainly the comments that he's making at the moment, which is becoming kind of more and more regular as we get towards the end of the season, he's making it pretty clear that I think he'd be fairly happy to stay in Marseille. So we'll have to wait and see what happens to that. Right, that's it from me. Anything you agree with, disagree with, please let me know. As always, in the comments below. Always intrigued to get your thoughts on if you what I've had to say and how you think Arsenal are panning out. Have a very good bank holiday wherever you're watching this around the world. Happy Eid to all those celebrating today. And I'll have a good Monday today. I'm off now to take my kids swimming. So I will see you all later. Enjoy the start to the week. I will speak to you soon.